Hello everyone, and welcome to the part 2 of this tutorial about how to solve the challenge 2 of ALC 4.0. So let's start with this phase 2. In this phase we are asked to use the JavaScript AS6 syntax and to use the selector API, not get element by and things like this. So I already have installed this extension and I can make call to the API endpoint like that. So when they ask to look how the data is, you have to pay attention on this. It will help you to go faster as you understand the data structure we use. Step 1. Within the script element and just after the build heap function, create an app start variable and assign it an empty object literal. This variable will hold data for the app. So we just have to create an app state just like that, and this is. After that, create a format as money function. It should take in an amount and a buyer country parameter. It will use this parameter to format the user bill as a proper currency. Now as you can see, I already have the function written, but I will just show you what it should be like in the beginning. So in order to code this instruction, you just have to write a function like this, and it will be asked to us to create a detect card type, validate card expiry date, and validate card holder names function. So you just have to create function just as this one. If I go where I create it, it will be just like this line here, just like that, and the same thing for the others. And you just have to precise the parameter that is asked. Like for this one, it is first 4 digit. Then we need to create a UI can interact function. It will be used to call the setup UI, including event handlers to enable interaction with the app. So you just have to create an UI can interact just like that. Then create a display card total function. It should expect a parameter and should use object destructuring to obtain the result property of the given parameter. So I know that I have to create a function, just name display card total, and I need to use object destructuring to obtain the result parameter. This function will be called with the data from an API call, and it will display the total bill to be paid. So with that, we have finished with the step 1. So we can start the step 2. Get the fetch bill function. It should then use the browser fetch function to make a HTTP request to API endpoint using the arrow function in a then call to fetch function. Return the response after converting to JSON using another then call to the first one. Pass the JSON data to display card total. Make sure to handle error that may occur, by example by showing a warning message in the console. So I have this function just so let's do it like this. Okay, here is the fetch bin function. Before to start with the fetch bin function, I have to provide you some important advices. The first one is to use meaningful name. It is a general truth in programming, but it is much more true when we are coding with Grat, because Grat is a little rude about naming. As you see there, when I start the challenge, I just name my response just like that, just rest. For me, it was meaningful enough, but Grad really asks us to use response like that. If you don't use response like that, it will not work. Many people struggle in this place because they name the response variable just like that. You have to name it response, and here also you have to name it data. And in all your and in all these challenge and future challenge in ALC 4.0, you have to really pay attention on how you are naming your variables. It is very important there also to read very carefully the instruction and try to name your variables the more closely as possible as it is named in the instructions. So you see that in the instruction it is called response, just name it response. If it is called data, just name it data. If it is called error, just name it error. If it is called field, name it field, not just input or something like this. It is very, very important in this phase. Okay, that being said, we can just continue with our fetch build function. We have just these three variables given to us. We have to make a call to this fetch, we passing it API endpoint. Then you have to convert the response into a JSON and return it. When we return in like this, it will return a promise done so that you can make another then on it. And when we make this second, then we just pass it a variable named data containing the response JSONify, and we call display car total data just like that, and we then catch for a and we then make a catch for any errors that may occur. So that is for the fetch build function. Call the fetch build function inside the start app. This should be the only code function called within start app. So we just have to come here and make a call to fetch build just like that, and that is all for step 2 on this phase 2. Now step 3. In the body of the display card function, in the display card total function, destructure the first item in the results array parameter into a data variable. Next, use object destructuring to obtain the items in cart and buyer country properties from data. You might want to install the JSON viewer, Chrome, and we already did that. So I have to go into the display card total. That is just okay, this is my display card total. It is asked to me to destructure the first item in the result array, so it is array destructuring. I just have to do it like that, and I will get the data variable. Next, use this time object destructuring to obtain items in cart. So I just have to use this time object destructuring, not array destructuring. I emphasize on this because when I was helping people, I saw some of them that use array destructuring where they should use object destructuring. So you have to pay attention to this kind of details. Okay, now I have my three variables: data, items in cart, and buyer country. Next, display cart total should set app state items to items in cart and app state country to buyer country. So I did it just like that. Use the array the dot reduce function to calculate Use the array.reduce function to calculate the total bill from items in cart. Note that each item has a quantity property indicating how many of that item the user bought. Assign the calculated bill to app state bill. So I have to assign it to app state bill. So I can already make this app state bill equals, then items in cart dot reduce. In reduce, we know that we have to give it a parameter that will be used as the accumulator and then the current item. Here I use object destructuring to paste directly the price and the quantity of the current item. Then I just use it to make the calculation part, so total plus price plus price multiplied by quantity, and just the next parameter as 0 as the initial total value. And when it will make this calculation, it will assign the result to apps bill. And don't forget to add this return in order to return the result to the app dot bill, because I also saw many people who forgot this return, and just because of that they had to struggle with this issue during many hours. The grad just say to them that they are not calculating the bills very well or something like that. Go to the format as money function. Use the inbuilt JavaScript to local string function on the amount and buyer country parameter to format as a currency with the currency symbol of buyer country. The countries and the currency symbol are in the countries array you got in your starter code. If the buyer country is not in countries, then use United States as the country and format the currency accordingly. Here I want to emphasize on another very important thing in this kind of challenge. It is that you cannot know all built-in JavaScript function that it will be asked to you to use. So you have to take this good habit consisting to read the API of the language you are using. So like that, it is JavaScript. So I just have to go to the API of JavaScript and read about how to use the to local string. And if you read very well, you will notice that they just provide to you an example with the use of to local string with currency. So I just have to search for currency just like that. And if I scroll just a little on the bottom just like that, I will see the use with currency just like that. So I know that I must use this function in this way. If you pay attention, you will see that they always use this kind of code of the country or on the language on which this currency will be used. So you have to reproduce it in your own code. So let's go back to my code just here, and see how I create my format as money function. Okay, so we are just format as money function. So it is asked to me to get the country, the it is asked to me to get the country corresponding to these buyer country variables in the countries array. So I just use the find function to return a country when the country names is equal to buyer country. If country is undefined, meaning that this buyer country is not in this country's array, I just have to use the country with index 0, knowing that it is the country corresponding to, it is the United States country. So I just take it and put in the country variable. Now I am sure that the country variable is always assigned. Then I just have to use the toLocalString function as it is asked, with this en just in front of the country code as I precise it to you in the documentation, and then I will return the result. Don't forget to return the result, to use the return. Many people just face this issue when grad was just saying to them you are not correctly formatting the currency, or just something like this with not correctly formatting. Generally, with the lot of case that I saw, it was either they are not using this en just in front of the country code, or they are not returning the result because they don't use the return keyword. So you just have to pay attention to these two things. Then continuing from where you left off in displayCarTotal, use the format as money function to set AppState bill formatted to the formatted total bill. The already reassigned app bill and AppState country should be ND for this task. So I just have to get back to my displayCarTotal and use the format as money to fill this bill formatted property. It is asked to use the already assigned bill property. If by example you don't pay attention to this, you can just recalculate it just by using this. You can just make it like this, and grad will not allow you to do that because it is asked to use appstate.bill. So you have to pay attention to this kind of details also. It is for this reason I highly recommend you to read very well the instructions, because they are very precise on what they want from you. Next, set the text content of the data dash bill span element to the formatted bill saved in AppState bill formatted. So I just have to grab this data bill and set his text context with the AppState bill formatted. Assign an array literal to AppState card digit. Finally, call the UE can interact to ramp up data card total. So this is that. And with that, we have finished with this phase 2 of the Smart Pay challenge. I really hope you enjoyed this video and you learn a lot from it. See you on the next video with part 3 of this challenge.